Okay, this is the best 5 EDC knives of all time, started by Slicey Dicey the other day. I've done this video several times now, but I keep making it too long, so I'm going to try and be quick this time. If I were not in the UK, my best EDC knife of all time would be the 940. This is a great knife, easy to deploy, and it has all the things that I would really like of an EDC knife. That's to say, it's got decent steel, S30V in this case. It's got a great shape, bit of straight, bit of belly, bit of point, bit of interest with the swedge, slim carry in the pocket, and although it doesn't come with a deep carry clip, a quick email to Benchmade and they will send you one to fit to your knife. Unfortunately, I'm in the UK and this has got a 3.4-inch blade and it locks, so it doesn't fit into the what would be UK legal carry. This has a similar problem. It's a 2.1-inch blade, but again it locks, so I can't have that in the UK. So I've made a point of only buying in the last few years UK legal knives, and I've got a reasonable collection of them. I've got about 50 altogether, of which these here are in the current, as at today, the current rotation. So I'm going to quickly go through these and I'll pull out the 5 that are the ones that I consider to be the best. But I just want to say a quick thing about some of them on the way out, so we'll take them out quickly. This is the Kershaw Pub in carbon fibre. It's really cheap. It's the cheapest Thinkovich design you'll ever buy. It's just over 20 quid for the carbon fibre, and I think it's under 20 quid if you have the aluminium faced one. It's particularly good if you're going to the pub because it has a flat, non-pointy, just over an inch long, inch and a half long blade. It doesn't lock, so it's a good, plus it's got a bottle opener, which is always handy if you're going for a drink. A little screwdriver thing on there and a sort of carabiner affair, but it doesn't stay in my list because it's too much towards, it skews the balance too much towards the inoffensive rather than the practical. So it's gone. Now, I love traditional knives, so we've got a few traditional knives here. I don't have any GECs as yet. I found somewhere that sells them. I'll be hopefully getting one or two in the next few weeks. These ones are the ones that I carry regularly. This one tends not to make it out the front door. It tends to just sit on my desk, but it's the first one that I reach for when the mail comes in and I want to open a letter, cut the binding on something, open a package, because that pruner point it's great for cutting in there, catching into something to slit it open or whatever. So it's a great little knife, but it doesn't tend to make it out the front door because that pruner blade is not great for cutting things, say on a desk or cutting up food or anything like that. Now, of the other 5, 3 of them go out for the same reason actually, and that is, here's the best example: fit and finish. These are handmade, and so you cut them a little bit of slack for the fact that somebody's making them, hefting them on a linisher, but the fit and finish on these is just too poor for the main. This Karl Schlüper, which is German Solingen one. These 2 again from Arthur Wright. I mean, just look at how badly that Ricasso's stamped. That's their name, that's their branding, and they let it go out the door like that. Lovely file work on the back though, with this organic design plus the liners being done. This one here is a very cheap Arthur Wright knife. It actually probably is the best fit and finish of the lot. A little bit of gapping there. This is a sub £20 traditional knife, lamb's foot blade, rosewood handles. It's probably the best of the lot, but the best of the one that's going out here anyway. Anyway, goes. This one is my favourite knife of all my knives, and this would be my EDC carry. My only worry is that from everyday carry, as opposed to special occasion carry, I would just be worried that I would drop this on the concrete floor and smash that beautiful mother of pearl. Just a quick word for this one: it's made by a guy called Lee White at Taylor's Eyewitness. Handmade, lovely file work on the back, carried up onto the blade, mother of pearl, black liners, brass liners, traditional Barlow pattern with the teardrop shape and the long bolster. Now, as that one doesn't make it into my everyday carry, this one does, for the simple reason that this one is same Lee White again, same Taylor's Eyewitness, same file work, everything else, but this one's ram's horn, makes it considerably cheaper and also rather more robust. I'd be less worried that this would smash if I dropped it. So that stays in my top 5. So that's number 1 of my top 5. Now, moving on to a couple of American knives here. This is Benchmade proper 319. I have a couple of the 319. I have a couple of these. I've got this one, it's the micarta. This is the original one, the micarta with the satin and stonewash mixed blade. S30V steel, so meets a lot of my criteria for a good everyday carry knife. It's robust. This micarta has the advantage that although it wears, it carries the wear well. It looks good. So S30V steel. Nice bit of interest in the blade, and you have sort of stonewash primary bevel with a satin flat to the blades. Nice little swedge, bit of shape to it. Looks lovely. Doesn't get through into my final top 5 because, quite honestly, some of the design work and some of the fit and finish are just not quite there. There's jimping, for example. Why are there 2 different sorts of jimping? Why don't they just match up? Not that I think it's particularly necessary, non-traditional. I think it's actually worse than not necessary. I think it's unpleasant. The fit and finish on the back, it's factory made, it's assembled, but it's not even as well assembled as a Swiss Army knife. And yet, this is well over £100. Nope, doesn't make it. This, on the other hand, does. This is the Quiet Carry, the West, another American knife. Now you'll see on this, well, first of all, it's D2 tool steel. It's razor sharp out the box, stays it. It's quite small, so inoffensive to carry. It fit and finish is great. It's titanium over a steel back spring, D2 blade, disassemblable with screws, although being a slip joint it's not great to disassemble. The only thing I don't like that screw on the clip, and the clip was overly tight and I had to stretch it out a bit to make it work. But this knife we can see from just the snail trails all over it, this knife lives in my pocket. This is probably, if it's not my most carried knife, it's one of my most carried knives, and as a result it definitely stays in the top 5. This again is D2 tool steel. This is an Andre de Villiers. It's called the Impey. Doesn't tell you on it what steel it is, but it is in fact D2 steel as well. Again, we've got lots of nice interest in it with the swedge, with the satin grind. We've got incredible fit and finish at the back here. Just lovely. Burlwood handles, nice traditional style of shield. The screws to hold the scales on, which is slightly odd, but lovely bits of finishing here, beautiful machining, and then again these different sort of types of bead blasted finish and satin finishes and so forth. Nice little lanyard thing on the end. I did that, obviously. One of the things I do like about it is inside it's marked with when it was made and the model number. Stays in my list. That's in my top 5. These two I always think of slightly together in that they're similar shapes and sizes, and on paper very similar knives. They're G10 over a steel liner with a fairly modern looking blade. Where they differ is in all of the detail, and in the detail they differ quite wildly. The SOG has this lots of machining and milling on the handle. The blade is a hollow grind, a flat section, a swedge, some jimping on the back. this you know, flow through design, the locking, well, the non-locking, the slip grind mechanism is built into the pivot there, the little bar that clicks up and down. Let me drop it there behind the camera. The clip has a nice stamping on it. That's lovely. Whereas the Wasp, the Manly Wasp, made in Bulgaria, plain G10 handles over liners, in this case skeletonized, which they're not in the SOG. So this has got a flat ground blade, satin finish. Most importantly of all, it's an S90V flat ground blade, simple clip, simple spring design. Where this one wins is that they've looked at this and said what would make a brilliant pocketable cutter, and they have added all the features necessary for that. That is to say, good steel, flat grind, sharp edge, thin behind the edge. They've made it practical to carry, and that they've given it a sufficiently textured but otherwise perfectly simple G10 scales. They've skeletonized them to reduce a little bit of weight, and they've made a perfect little cutting animal. You put this in your pocket, you take this out, you know it's just going to cut things, no more, no less, and all for 55 quid, which is certainly was the cheapest of my top 5. This one is very slightly more expensive, so it's design over substance, so it's out. This is the Enzo PK70. If you've watched any of my channel, you'll know that this is going to be in the list, and it's always going to be my top knife. These are CPMS 30V steel again. Again, it's flat grind. There's no mucking about. This thing is just a cutter. You know, this is a pocket scalpel. It's got a decent weight in the hand. The titanium bolsters takes the balance forward toward the blade, which I quite like. It has molded, sculpted G10 handles, so they're nice feel in the hand. It's got a deep pocket clip. Though the clip itself isn't countersunk into the handle, the screws on it are countersunk in, so it's nice and easy in and out of the pocket. The fit and finish is absolutely out of this world. You will never see better. These are made in the Taiwanese Taichung factory that is much enamoured of the best of the Spydercos. So that's a great knife and definitely makes it into my top 5. These are my top 5. Therefore, the Enzo PK70, the Manly Wasp, the Andre de Villiers Impey, the West Quiet Carry, and my Taylor's Eyewitness Ramshorn Barlow. Honourable mention, it's a slightly quirky sort of choice. It's in fact the cheapest of the lot. This is a Puma IP knife. Puma are known as being a German manufacturer from Solingen in Germany, which is to Germany what Sheffield is to England in terms of traditional cutlers. This one is the Puma IP Amino in Amboino. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's burlwood anyway. It's beautiful burlwood handle. A tiny bit of file work on the back. As it says, it's handmade. What I certainly know is the heat treatment is good because they're individually Rockwell tested 59 to 60. You can actually see on the back, which they point out to you when you buy one of these with a little label. The little mark there is when it's been individually Rockwell hardened. So the great hardening on the steel, cuts well, keeps an edge. That long, thin, pointy blade is great for opening letters. It's also very good for cutting up food because it slips through the food very well. Again, a full flat grained blade. There's a theme there, I think. So that would be my honourable mention, my 6th, if you like, of my top 5. So there we are. There's my top 5. PK70, Manly Wasp, Andre de Villiers Impey, the Quiet Carry, the West, and Taylor's Eyewitness Barlow. Thank you very much.